This Vikings Giants game is really something else because if you look at it strictly through the lens of how the game should play out on paper, it seems like it could be a Vikings blowout, but in reality, it's anybody's guess who's going to win. Kirk Cousins is arguably disrespected, but I would say most people still have him at least a tier above Daniel Jones. And when you look at the stats, though, they actually favor Daniel Jones. As far as the rest of the Vikings offense is concerned, though, Christian Darrisaw is a great Kayvon Thibodeau stopper, and Ezra Cleveland and Garrett Bradbury will have to be at their absolute best against Dexter Lawrence and Leonard Williams. So I think the Vikings will have their handful in blocking the Giants, but I think it's manageable. As far as the wide receiver versus cornerback matchup, Adoree Jackson is great, but we're talking Justin Jefferson here, arguably the best receiver in the NFL. So, of course, I'm going to give the advantage to Jefferson and the Vikings. And Adam Thielen at this point is not what he used to be, but I would still take him over Foster Moreau. As far as what the linebacker matchup is, too, I like what the Vikings can do, as TJ Hawkinson is a better route runner than any of the Bears linebackers are cover guys, and Dalvin Cook should be able to expose their pretty weak run defense, as they're more than just pretty weak, actually. They're worst in defensive value over adjustment for rushing, being described as 12% worse than average. So, just in case it wasn't clear, I think there's plenty of ways the Vikings will be able to attack the Giants. As we get ready to switch on over to the Giants now, please be sure to like and subscribe for more content like this, and also comment on what you think of my evaluation of the game. The Giants' blocking is going to have to be on their best behavior, as Danielle Hunter can be lined up against Evan Neal, which might pose an issue. And additionally, Zadarius Smith will be on important downs lined up as a defensive tackle more so than an edge rusher. So they're going to have some issues blocking on the edge and in the interior. So Daniel Jones is particularly going to have to get rid of the ball quickly. That would be the main area I would be worried about if I were a Giants fan, as Daniel Jones had the sixth slowest time to throw out of any quarterback. So they're going to have to adjust their offense a bit to get rid of the ball quicker than they would like to. Looking at the receiver matchup, Patrick Peterson matches up about as nicely as anybody in the NFL on Isaiah Hodgins, and Duke Shelley should be able to handle Darius Slayton. At that point, you're hoping Richie James can help, and you can have success running against a solid run defense. So it doesn't sound ideal, but there's more to it than just that. A major issue I have with the Vikings is they have a very rigid philosophy on defense, in that they are very conservative regardless of the opponent. And that's where this game becomes very interesting, because the Vikings are going to be in cover 2 or cover 4 or even cover 6 some of the time, which are all pretty passive zone coverages. And that bodes very nicely for the Giants, as Daniel Jones has the lowest average depth of target out of any quarterback. So he's going to love the way that the Vikings play him, unless the Vikings do something schematically different than they have pretty much the entire year. He's going to be able to hit his checkdowns all day without really any issue, and that's going to really help them be able to keep the ball moving and keep the chains moving. So, though the Vikings match up physically and skill set wise well against the Giants receivers, I don't think it's as simple as that. I think it's going to be actually in favor of the Giants because, one, the Vikings do have a traditionally poor pass defense. Throughout much of the year, that's been a major issue they've had. And also, they're not going to play to the strength of their corners, which is Patrick Peterson could get up in press coverage against Isaiah Hodgins and say, I'm as good of a player as you are, and I'm as physical as you are. And similarly, Duke Shelley could probably take out Darius Slayton from the game. So they're not going to buy into that, though. They're going to be in that more conservative coverage, which kind of lets the Giants off the hook, in my opinion, as they don't have the most talent at the receiver position. So this is the part that I really love about the NFL. It's not as simple as saying, well, the Vikings have more talent and then they're going to win. It's, will that talent be enough to lead them to past the schematic advantages that the Giants will likely possess? And in the end, I tend to think the Vikings will have the advantage just because we don't know for certain that they're not going to change their ways a little bit and say, yeah, we need to play more aggressive and shut down the short stuff. At the end of the day, we can feel pretty sound in saying that Justin Jefferson is better than Adoree Jackson, which again is not a dig on Adoree Jackson. It's just saying Justin Jefferson is really, really good. Listed below, I have what I think the advantages are for each team, and something I didn't get into in the video itself was Kirk Cousins is ninth worst out of 42 quarterbacks in PFF grade against the blitz. And if there's one thing we know about the Giants, they love to blitz. So that can be another schematic advantage that they have, which again helps make this game closer than it would be if it was strictly played on paper. With all of that said, though, give me the Vikings, and even more so than that, give me the over on the score because I think both teams will have limited issue scoring against each other.